Today we're going to look at how to set up your key changes to where they sound smooth and seamless and quickly and easily move into either the next song or the next verse. Now, key changes are a useful skill for a church pianist to have because oftentimes you'll be playing a special song for someone and they want to go up a step on the last verse, or in your congregational music you may want to go up a half step or even a whole step for that last verse. I also use a lot of key changes whenever I'm planning out my prelude because if it's by topic, I'm moving from song to song and I want it to have a seamless transition between those two. Or sometimes I'll even prepare my prelude by key, so I need to have a smooth key change between each of those. You don't want the few seconds of dead air while you switch songs in your prelude. You need to have a good key change to go through that. And you don't want, if you're playing for congregational music or a special song, you don't want to just awkwardly hit the one chord of the new key you're headed to and then hope the singer comes in. So I'm going to teach you how to do half-step key changes from one key to the very next. The half step is the smallest distance on your keyboard. Also, whole step key changes, the circle of fifth key changes where we're going to use one certain chord between each of those to launch us up a fourth. And then we'll look at some odd key changes from one key to another that doesn't seem to have a predictable pattern. So the first one we'll look at is half steps. All you need to do is use the new key's 5-7 chord. So what I just did was in the key of G, and this is I stand amazed in the presence. So we end on the G chord. Now get to the E flat 7. Now I'm ready for the new 1 chord, which is A flat. So how I got there, I played the G chord of the end of the first verse. I did another G chord with my right hand, a whole step down, a F in my left hand, and then another whole step down left hand while my right hand changed to the E flat 7. That puts my left hand on an E flat, my right hand on an E flat 7, and then I'm ready for the new key. Now you can do that a couple different ways. The whole step, or right hand, you can add in a walk up. Notice I'm keeping it in time. So if I end the first verse, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So that way you don't have a jarring transition between those two verses. Somebody could just snap or clap right along with it and move into the next verse. Now let's look at Calvary in the key of C, and we're going to look at how to do one more half-step key change from C to D flat. Now as I'm ending that verse in C, I'm already thinking about what is the 5 chord of my new key. It's going to be the key of D flat, so my 5th chord, the dominant, is an A flat. Now I throw that 7th in there, the G flat on top. That makes it sound a little more smooth than if you just use the 5 chord. So let's end the verse, ending that chorus at Calvary. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. And now I'm in the new key. Whole step down left hand, A flat 7 chord. You have one more beat there because we're in 4/4 timing, and we don't come in on a pickup, we come in right on beat 1. So let's see how that works with that right hand walk up. And then I'm into it. Sometimes for that key change, C to D flat or any half step, but particularly for At Calvary, I'll often add an arpeggio in right into that key change where I land on the downbeat of the next verse in D flat. So I let the A flat 7 be an arpeggio that extended up the entire keyboard. Change on beat 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. 7 of the new key rule also works for whole step key changes. So let's take the song Saved, Saved, I Found a Friend. In a lot of hymnals it's written in A flat, some have it written in B flat, so it's to your advantage to know how to play it in both keys. It's also a great one to use for a prelude where you can just do 2 verses in A flat, then go to B flat and do 1 more verse. So I end my chorus. Notice I kind of stuck with the theme, the rhythm, the pace that I was already in. I didn't just add a big transitional F7 chord to get me into B flat. Instead, I stayed with the tone I was already playing in. So what I did there is I used the melody note A flat. My left hand moved down to the F. My right hand was on an A flat. I moved up to an A natural, which is part of the F7 chord, and that launches me up to the next melody note. And then I'm in that new key. So I had just went up a whole step, but I still used only 1 chord to transition between those 2 keys, and that is the 5/7 of the new key. So if you're using half steps or whole steps, the only chord you need to go between those 2 keys is the 5/7 of the new key. Now there's one other place where all you need is a 1/7, and that is if you're moving through the circle of fifths. So if I'm going from the key of C to the key of F, or the key of F to B flat, B flat to E flat, I'm moving through the circle of fifths, all I have to do is use the 1/7 of the key I'm currently in. Well, if you know anything about the circle of fifths, the 1/7 of the key I'm currently in is also the 5/7 of the key I'm headed to. Let me show you how that works. If I'm in C, let's say we're finishing at Calvary, and then we're going into the key of F, and I want to do the Lily of the Valley, which is written in F. Then I'll end C, make it a C7 by adding a B flat, and now I'm ready for the key of F. So I move straight from C to C7. Let's say we end Lily of the Valley, we go into Since I Have Been Redeemed, which is also in F. I don't need a key change, but I'm going to have another song prepared after that that's in the key of B flat, so I need a key change from F to B flat. Let's end Since I Have Been Redeemed. And now I'm doing Love Lifted Me in B flat. So I've gone from C to F to B flat. And all I've had to do is use the 1/7 chord of the key I'm currently in, which still follows the rule of the 5/7 chord of the new key. So to get from C to F, just use a C7. To get from F to B flat, just use F7. Let's say I end Power in the Blood in B flat and I'm headed to E flat for I Know Whom I Have Believed. We're going to use a B flat 7. So give yourself a few seconds to make that transition. Add in an extra measure if you're doing your prelude. Go ahead and add in a measure to give yourself time to make that key change to where it smoothly moves into the next key. Now let's look at a couple different key changes that don't have that predictable pattern. I can't just use the 5/7 of the new key. What if I'm going from E flat with I Know Whom I Have Believed and I'm headed to B flat for God Will Take Care of You? Here's the rule. For any key change that is not a half step, a whole step, or moving up a fourth, the circle of fifths, Here's the progression. You need the 2 minor, then the 5 major of the new key. And that immediately follows the 1 of the key you're in. So let's say I end, I know whom I have believed in E flat. I'm headed to B flat, so I already start thinking, what is the 2 minor in B flat? It's a C minor. Now I use the 5 major of that new key, which is F, and I'm ready for B flat. So let's see how that works in rhythm. I'm back in E flat. And then I am safely in B flat. Now make that transition smooth. Give yourself that extra measure. Smooth key change just with the basic chords. You don't have to add all the extra walk-ups and scaled fill-ins. You can just use the chords and get smoothly from those keys to the next. So let's practice one more. Let's go from F to A flat. So we're gonna say we're ending Lily of the Valley in F, and we're headed to Haven of Rest in A flat. Well, since I already know that, I'm thinking about what is the 2 minor in the key of A flat? It's B flat minor. What's the 5 major in the key of A flat? It's E flat major. So those are the 2 chords I need between F and A flat. So we end our song in F. So let's see, we're going from a fast song to a slow song. So I'm also using that key change as a time for me to change tones, to change themes. I'm moving from a big bright song in F to one that begins a little bit more subdued. So you want that key change to be the bridge between those two. So you can use that 2 minor, 5 major of the new key and land safely on the 1 chord of the new key for any key change that is not a half step, a whole step, or up a 4th. So add key changes into your playing. It helps your playing sound more smooth and connected, and adding a key change in your congregational music can give a big boost to the energy of the congregation as they sing. So just think through those rules. Go ahead and be thinking about the next key as you're ending in the current key, so you won't be surprised, but you'll find that key changes can add a lot of excitement to your playing. Check out my 2 web courses, Basic Congregational Accompaniment and Foundations in Hymn Playing, available on my website, natalierainsmusic.com.